I don't feel particularly good about having been spiked. I think it's an awful thing and I wish it hadn't happened to me. People said I was just unresponsive and that they weren't really sure what was wrong with me. They tried to do anything they could to sort of wake me up and get me to stir. Nothing would work. I would just sort of drift in and out of consciousness.
I feel uncomfortable knowing that I've been spiked. Because I was so young at the time and there wasn't much chat about drink spiking, if it was to happen to me now, I would be more scared about it. A few years ago on Halloween, when I was in halls at university, I was 18, I had gone to a party from somebody I'd known from back home. We'd been there for a few hours, we were sitting in the kitchen drinking. We'd had a fair amount to drink, but we weren't very drunk. After sitting in the kitchen, that was the last memory I have of it. I remember the lead up to it, and there was no traces of like no sort of clues to what was happening. I was then told that I walked off. I went missing for around 2 hours. And then my friend found me about 3 o'clock in the morning outside my halls, sitting on the steps, and took me to bed. And it wasn't until the next morning when the police came to the door that I was told that I'd been spiked. The police at the time went round to everyone's flats that had been at the party, all the girls that could have been spiked. They advised that we go to hospital to be checked to confirm if we were around. I went to the hospital to sort of be checked over to see what was in my system. It turned out I had been, and there was Valium in my bloodstream. And I think that's what was used, but
I think people don't take it seriously because it's sort of hard to admit that you've been spiked. There's a stigma around it where people think, oh, you weren't being careful, you left your drink somewhere and then you came back 10 minutes later and you picked it up. Obviously, you've been spiked. But on the other hand, I think because in a lot of cases, nothing serious happens, if nobody has assaulted you in any way, the effects of having a drug in your system can still be completely disorienting. Even if you feel like you're in a safe environment, that doesn't necessarily mean that you are.
Hi, my name is Claire Parks. I'm a forensic toxicologist at Forensic Medicine and Science at the University of Glasgow. If a person suspects that their drink's been spiked, then the first thing they would do is attend the police station and report this to the police. They would then arrange for a medical examiner to come and collect biological samples that are needed to be tested. The samples collected will depend on the time difference between the alleged spiking and the collection of the samples. Blood specimens are useful when the alleged spiking has happened within 24 hours of the sample collection. Urine is also collected, as this gives a wider detection range for drugs. If there is a late reporting of the crime, then a hair sample may be collected. Residue of drinks and suspected substances can also be tested if those are available. It is essential that specimens are collected as soon as possible after it's suspected that drink spiking has occurred. Some drugs have short half-lives, meaning they're eliminated from the body quicker than some other drugs. For example, gamma hydroxybutyrate will not be detected in blood after 8 hours after ingestion. The type of drugs that you'd expect to find in these type of cases would be your sedative type drugs, stimulant type drugs and hypnotic type drugs. Other drugs that might be detected include gamma hydroxybutyrate, ecstasy and cocaine, and ketamine. So benzodiazepines, hypnotics and antihistamines, they can cause sedation, muscle relaxation and also drowsiness. For the drug ketamine, this can induce a state of helplessness in the user. Stimulant type drugs can give a euphoric effect and can also increase sexual desire. Benzodiazepines and gamma hydroxybutyrate can also cause anterograde amnesia. Alcohol is a central nervous system depressant. When these sedative type drugs are taken in combination with alcohol, this can increase their sedative effects.
I just remember I had 1 or 2 drinks, and then after that the night is a complete blur. I only have patches of memory. Initially, my experience with drinking definitely became more toned down. For a good year after the spiking incident, I didn't drink unless it was at home or in a very safe environment. So implementing safety measures such as making sure the bartender opens the drink in front of you so you know exactly what's going in your cup. Just little changes like that, I think, could really help out.
I'm Cara, I'm the founder of Girls Against Spiking, which is a campaign I set up to put lids on cups in any venue which has any sort of crowd in it. I set up the campaign originally because one of my friends was spiked, and I thought if it can happen to someone so close to home, it can happen to anybody. Since I set up the campaign, immediately the Strathclyde Union decided to get on board with it.
I'm Jen, I work at Strathclyde Union and I'm the events coordinator. We at Strath Union decided to take on the Lid initiative because Cara's Facebook page, one of the girls behind the bar found it, and when I saw it I was just like, why are we not already doing this? Like, why is it not already a thing?
Yeah, it's so simple. Like, people say, oh, it's such a clever idea, but it's not. It's just so simple, and I honestly thought by now somebody would have said, oh, this venue already does this, but it's just not been done. So the aim of the campaign is, I just really hope that in 10 years' time that spiking just won't exist anymore, because it's just not possible for people to get spiked. The campaign's been really successful. I mean, overnight it got 2,000 likes. The support I've just had from everybody's been amazing. People are so keen to help because I think everybody feels really strongly about it.
Yeah, the scheme's been really successful so far. Cara made posters, so we put them up in the lifts and in the corridors so that if people want a lid for their drinks when they're in the union, they know where to ask for them and we can get them behind the bars.
I think it's amazing that Strathclyde decided to take on the initiative. I think it shows exactly the kind of nature of Strathclyde and the community. I think the union's always been really protective of students here. Since then I've been trying to target all the other student unions to get it in place there as well. I think that it's important for unions to take part because, in my opinion, students are the people that are most vulnerable to spiking, so that's what I'm trying to do next.
We've got a couple of contacts and tenants and they're hopefully going to sponsor some lids. And put it through as like a bit of a campaign on their part as well.
Police Scotland have been in touch and they want to endorse the campaign, so that will obviously give it more exposure. We've also got Annie Wells, MSP, back in the campaign, and she wants to raise it in Parliament because just now the NHS don't test for typical drugs that are used in spiking unless you're sexually assaulted, so there's some sort of kind of confirmation that it's not victims' fault when they get spiked, because I think a lot of people feel that way just now, and that's why maybe people don't speak out, because the figures for drink spiking are massive, but the people that actually talk about it, the figures for that are so small.
I would say to somebody who's thinking about spiking that it's not worth it.
Consider the consequences that it could have.
It causes so much damage just for nothing.
You're going to be ruining someone's life potentially.
There's no point to doing it. They don't realise that damage they're doing.
If you feel like you're okay to carry that burden, then I hate to break it to you, but you're just not a good person.